Thank you, Helen. Helen always says such nice things. I can't possibly live up to them. And I will say, I'm not going to read the prize-winning poem, though, again, I never tire of listening to Helen praise me, or indeed hearing that I won that competition, because that is great. But since we're in lockdown, you know, I like to have a theme to my readings, as everybody knows, so I can choose some poems. So I thought I'd do a kind of a holiday tour in my poems today. But I thought I'd better start close to home so that we don't feel too disorientated by sudden movement away from the place we've been stuck in. So I'm going to start with a celebratory welcoming spring poem from my collection. South Circular. Around and around the common, runners are looping. They're eye-plugged and inwards, enslaved by their whole mud-thumping, repetitive shenanigans. In the playground, children unwrap the morning. Still unsullied, they're exhilarated by green. They don't yet know that spring's a bully, browbeating the earth into washing its hands of the wrongs done under the influence of frost. The crows on the fence are weary of the boring, predictable resurgence of the year. They watch as a double-decker sidles up to the bus stop, earth-logged and embittered, drawn by the pull of the flight path. Up there, the geese are stacked like planes, the planes lined up like resolutions. And still, the runners keep on coming, thudding out of Lambeth and heading for the Wandsworth daffodils. Now, it can't be too long till those Wandsworth daffodils. One good thing about lockdown has been fewer planes stacked up like resolutions on the flight path. But I do spend a lot of time walking under the flight path along the river. The next poem that I'm going to read took place before lockdown, and all of it is absolutely true. State Anthem. This morning, as I walked along the riverbank, an almost certainly decommissioned Soviet submarine thrust its conning tower above the water's surface and started to rise like the domes of St. Basil's, like the Kremlin's bulk. When almost wholly visible, it began to spew out Soviet sailors with their Soviet caps and their Soviet striped telnyashki, their gleaming Soviet faces and their proud Soviet hair. They clustered on the top deck like banners massed in celebration. They spouted maxims and slogans, praising Marxism, Leninism, and exhorting long life to the party and the comrades and the dear, dear secretary. They were skittles and ninepins, identical yet strangely individual, each crafted from years of borscht and kvass and kalbasa and pioneer camps near Odessa. They were singing all as one, a glorious chorus of bulwarks and victory, an anthem to spiritual determination. Their voices carried conviction on the tepid South London breeze. They smelt of fervour and belief. The dog walkers fell silent and the herons hunched into themselves, grey sentinels of the fortress, witnesses to the way lit up by Lenin and the torches flaring and the sonar booming and the red flag flying and the will of the people and the long, long way home. I always feel I have to say after this that I wrote it before 2016 when the will of the people had a very different meaning. Now, you might notice from that I did study Russian, and I do have, as part of my introduction to our tour, an interest in languages. So I'm going to read a poem that is basically in praise of travel guides, or Polyglot. It was a compulsion and a joy, a comparison of menus and in-flight safety cards. Frühstück, Zavtrak und Bite. It was always easy till the perfect tense. I assembled a battalion of teach-yourself books, a regiment of linguaphone tapes. Il battello viene. Je suis nul en français. I attended conversation groups, evening classes, signed up to correspondence courses. Quiero algo más. Quiero oportunidades, dinero. I plotted to seduce the handsome Swede who worked at Volvo GM heavy truck. Din hustru och dina två små barn hemma, Holiday phrase books were my staple. Proso hiperakalo. Dove il Duomo? I tried Esperanto and even Proto-Indo-European, where Cooney posited the existence of laryngeals. Mia nomo estas Susannah. Avis avkasas ka. I went back to ancient Rome, quo usque tandem, and east to Muscovy, nabiregu pustinich von. But now it's like a case of multilingual aphasia with all my languages just jumbled up. When I try to decipher the Portuguese headlines, my sons tell me Google Translate has the answer. Oh tempora, oh mores. In der Mitte und hinten ist noch viel Platz. I'd like to say I haven't quite got over it. I'm teaching myself Norwegian on Duolingo at the moment, and I'm doing a Japanese course at the City Lit. So it just gets worse and worse, in fact, my confusion. I did promise some actual foreign countries. So the next poem is about a hotel that we've been visiting for the past 15 years since my sons were very small and we lived in Singapore. And yeah, so this poem's really about going back to the same place several times. Indivisible. The fish and their shadows are a single thing, skimming the shoreline, swimming over sand, among washed up jellyfish and dead shells. From the beach, the sea looks blue, but close up, it's the shattered green of glass within. Back in the bar, the fan whirs like an electric cicada, and there's a stink of monkey that you can't wash off at the end of the day. This year, the boy's voice is deeper, and there's a fresh scar on the grandmother's chest. You know it's persistence of vision, but what you think of as the fan is the movement, the single unbounded blade. You're slipping from last year to this, not able to tell where the thing itself ends and the shadow of the thing begins. At the limit of the sea, the sky is the colour of cuttlefish. Now, we've been going back to that hotel for, as I say, a long time, and we last went in last January. And then this year, last month, someone sent me a photograph. So this is a new poem. Photograph. Someone sent you a picture of the hotel burnt down, a macabre skeleton against the softening dusk. You could make out the bar behind the charred timbers, next to the gaping hole where the restaurant had been. In the corner of the shot, a flash of swimming pool and a scrap of turquoise sunbed on which, perhaps, last year you lay and read your book and drank lime soda. Behind the photograph, you hear the langurs scream and flee. The heavy wings of hornbills clatter through the smoke. Panicking boar bludgeon the undergrowth while a tokay gecko hiccups its alarm. The guests, of course, have been evacuated, and you don't want to think about the staff. The other photographs, the ones that catalogue the way your sons grew up here, the annual register of how they change from that to this, lie safely in a drawer. Turn your back on the ruin, on the blackened hulk. Try not to see it as a symbol of all that's different now, or as the end of anything at all. It's just bad luck. Look towards the bay, where the tide is still coming in, still breaking in a stream of phosphorescence, and where, far out, the lights of the squid fishermen glow unearthly green. Yeah, so I was quite upset to receive that photograph because that really did happen, and obviously we couldn't go this year, so I hope at some point that we will be able to revisit and the squid fishermen will still be fishing. And I'm going to finish with another holiday poem. I'm going north this time. I hope I'll end on a more upbeat note, but I'm not entirely sure. Shining in Tampere. Are the cars still shining in Tampere? Does Suomenlinna still rise from the sea? Do the angles of Tempeliaukio still astonish? Is the air still pure? And are the steps of the Russian cathedral still waiting to be climbed? I suppose there have been other girls who ate their prawns and their berries on trains. Other girls who fell off hired bikes when the roots on the pine forest path surprised them. Others who sat above the town and watched the late summer evening in its lilac settling, trying to find the words for colour and time. I ache for those girls, for their unspun futures, for their rucksacks weighted with books and their intricate, simple friendships, those long conversations that mattered so much. There is no one else in the world but you. I suppose you're still alive, who would understand the cars shining in Tampere, the peeled prawns and the sour berries, the huge mosquito bites. We were friends, that's all. But to share so much time with someone else is a gift, a burden, and we gave each other those things to carry forever. Today, I met another friend we knew back then. My friendship with her a long, unbroken thread. But it was you on Suomenlinna, you falling from the bike, you on the top of the lilac hill. And somewhere, the thread of our friendship was broken, and we go forward, carrying our heavy gifts alone.